Hey y'all, how are you? Welcome to Conversations from Paris. You already know what it is. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Paris Johnson, and I'm a mental health advocate. My goal is to help break the stigma of not speaking out about mental health, not talking about it. And I feel like we go ahead and we have conversations, this will shift that stigma more and more to the point where people understand that, guess what? It's time for you to not hide it, speak about it, and get the help that you need, or start to shift the perspectives by having a conversation. One conversation at all. It's all you need to shift your perspective. Hey, mom, love you. So let's get to it. Today I am still in the middle of our depression series. And I hate saying that. Probably why I didn't do this series prior to now, because, sorry, adjusting my lighting a little bit. When you say depression, there's this actual thing where it seems like the conversation is going to be all dark and grim. And it's tough. It's far from it. To be honest with you, it's actually life-giving, and it should be something that makes you very hopeful, because if we have these conversations, we could stop pretending that we are not having these times, and we'll know what to do better once we get in these situations and we know what it looks like, and we can help each other and be a better support system, a better community for each other, and we can actually start seeing us get the help that we need because we're having the conversations. So because people feel safer to talk about it. So last Tuesday, it's Thursday, guys. Thankful Thursday. Last Tuesday, I started the conversation about men and depression, and how it looks and how it's different. A lot of times they have different symptoms and signs from women. And I took a deep dive into why men don't talk about it as much. It's funny because people seem to believe that they're not depressed as much. And actually, that's farthest from the truth. Men have the highest suicide rate, period. They do. And so at the end of the day, suicide doesn't just happen. It usually comes about from from depression. So, or any mental health issues. So to believe that men don't deal with these things, to believe that this topic is a woman topic, to believe that men don't need these type of conversations is crazy. And I don't like to use the word crazy, but it is asinine to believe that men are left out of the mental health space. The last time the reason I'm touching on men this week is last week I spoke about motherhood specifically, and I said I'll come back to men because I found out that Men's Mental Health Month, I think, is November. And I don't know if you guys remember, in February I did a Men's Mental Health Month, and I just made it that because I said it. But I spoke about different issues, and I brought 4 different men, Black men therapists that came on, and they helped the conversation and move it forward so well. I was very happy about it. I was very glad to see that we can openly talk about it. And I know that there's such a hesitation maybe with me leading the conversation, right? Being a woman. I'm sure some guys think, well, what does she know about it? And what makes her qualified to speak about it? And I'm not trying to say I understand you completely as a man. What I am saying, though, is I'm just advocating that when you might not have that space, or while you're not given that consideration, you don't have to talk to me, but at least that you go talk to someone, right? Or at least you understand the signs, or at least you understand the options you have, right? That is the goal, is to have these conversations so that maybe somebody goes across this and say, you know what? I never thought I had I didn't have what's the word I want to use? The freedom to be able to say something to someone about it until maybe I heard you start talking about it and realizing this is my right. Um, the saying I always say is that it's not your fault that they hurt you. However, it is your responsibility to heal. And that's just it. It's not your fault. Or yes, they did hurt you, but it is definitely your responsibility to heal. You cannot walk around wounded and bleeding out and say they did it, but refuse to get the help that you need, right? So I'm here to give you options so that you understand that you can get the help, to understand what it looks like, to understand. Let me tell you how real this stuff is. If you don't get the help that you need, it would affect every part of your life. It will affect every relationship you're in. That means your um, family relationships. I mean, your parents, sibling, any extended family. It affect all of those. It'll affect your career, and I know that's a big time for you guys, right? It affect any entrepreneur or business goals that you have. It affect even just your outlook on life, right? If you don't understand this about yourself, if you don't get um, a hold of it, you're walking under a lens that is tainted. And what you don't get is that because you don't address it, because you might not think it's what the definition of what you see on TV depression is, you don't deal with it, it will affect everything. And guess what? Some people deal with it for a couple days. Some people deal with it for their whole life. And so it's not something that you should shrug off. I even think the scariest part of it, let me tell you the scariest part. People actually take certain things that happen, like different mental health issues or different mental health illnesses, and they all start to quantify it as their personality. That's perhaps the scariest thing I've ever seen, because when you tell yourself this is just who I am, accept me as who I am, that's just part of my personality. I'm just a melancholy person. I'm somebody that's just really chill. I don't ever get excited. I don't ever celebrate anything. I'm not that type of person. When you start to normalize never being happy, I'll hit on something, y'all. I don't care if y'all hear it or not, but that hit me. This is good because I don't think I've ever said this before. When you start to normalize not ever being happy, not ever celebrating, not ever finding joy, or a majority of the time you're not being able to celebrate yourself. I know some people that say I don't celebrate birthdays. I don't celebrate birthdays. I don't, or my birthday. I don't celebrate anything. Or what, I used to have people walk up to me and say, what are you so happy about? What are you smiling about? And I used to feel insecure at first when they said this to me. But as I got older, I started to realize, I'm not going to feel bad about being happy and joyful. But I do now still, at the time I felt sad because what's going on with you that you don't feel this way, or that you don't have to feel exactly how I feel all the time, but what's going on with you that you don't understand the feeling of happiness or contentment or joy? Like, what's up with you that you can't seem to quantify that in any level, right? And I think what the reality is that we don't we over normalize it, right? We literally say, oh, that's just what so and so, they're always in a bad mood. Oh, don't worry about them, they're just this, that's just how they are. When there can be real roots to these issues, and there could be a real situation going on, but if that person never deals with it, and if we always pacify them and say, oh, that's just part of their personality, then they'll never get the help, and we won't realize that this is something that they don't just have to live with. This is something that they can deal with and possibly get better, be better. Hey, Auntie Nisi, love you. So, that's where I really, that's why I think I get really passionate about talking about, especially this stuff, because being somebody that never can understand and feel joy, never can get excited, don't have any zeal, don't even know what that feels like, you got to start talking about why that is, right? And I think sometimes people will say stuff like, well, I had a hard life growing up. And listen, that can be completely true. You can live like a really rough life. A lot of horrible things have happened to you. And I'm not going to take away from that. I can't imagine I've heard some people story about what they've went through. And I'm like, oh my Jesus, they went through all that. And I can understand how you can have a negative and dark take on life. But again, like I said, they did it to you and it wasn't fair. These things did happen to you. This is your truth. You have every right to feel that way. But like when people say they have a right to feel that way, I challenge it this way. I'll say, you have a right to whatever you want to do and feel, but do you want to stay stuck, right? That's like saying somebody took a pie and hit me in the face with it, and I got this pie all over my face, and it's messy and it's ugly and disgusting. Well, man, that's messed up that they took that pie and hit it into your face and messed you up. Now after your initial disgust, where is the moment where you take a napkin or a towel and start to wipe the pie off of your face? This is a good analogy, y'all. Y'all just think y'all ain't talking as much as this is a good. Where's the point in your life where you take the towel and you wipe the pie off your face? Excuse me. Why is it that you decide that you want to own the pie and you rather walk around with pie on your face to say, look what they did to me. Look what they did to me. Then clean the pie off your face and say, yeah, they did that to me, but I can't change the past. Let me now go forward because I got things to do, right? That's why I want to talk about it. What people seem to do is that life's trials and tribulations hit them hard, and they seem to wear struggle as a badge. I grew up in the hood. My mama wasn't there. My daddy wasn't there. I had to fend for myself. I was homeless. I had this had happened. And all those things are true and it's horrible. But they wear it like it's a well-fitted suit. And they wear it more than they want to wear freedom. I got to clap for myself. They wear it more than they want to wear freedom. They wear it more than they want to wear joy. They wear it more than they want to wear peace. They wear it more than they want to wear just being happy. And it's almost to the point where people are so comfortable with how life has slapped them in the face that they hold on to that thing. They actually call it like, that's my struggle. You can't take my struggle away from me. Or this is my reality. You don't know what it was like to grow up like that. And I'm always in agreement. You're right. I don't know what it was like to grow up like that. But I know that there's a choice that you can make. And in my mind, if there's a choice you can make, you can choose freedom. You can choose peace. You can choose to heal. You can choose to not make your past and your story and the horrific things that happened to you. You can choose to not make that the sum of what your life is about. You can choose to understand that you can heal from those things and those root pains, that you can go forward past it. And I think that's where I need to dispel some of these myths about the idea of this is just, I came from the hood, this is who I am. This is all that's happened to me. You don't understand my thing. You're right, I don't understand it. We might never understand in depth and in full what happened to you. But I believe if we can start conversating about this and understanding that you don't have to wear your pain, you don't have to wear your wound, and you can take it and move past it and use it as a strength to propel you to the next place, then you understand that this is not something that you have to keep on. I don't have to wear the horrible things that happened to me forever. I mean, yes, I'm not going to pretend like they didn't happen. Like, I believe your testimony is strong. But at some point, I am not defined by that. I'm not defined by the things that happened to me. And I don't have to be confined to that. That's not the makeup of me, right? Antonise, you said that's what people do when they believe they are victims. Yes. And guess what? Don't get me wrong. There are people who have been victimized, and it's true, and that's your truth. But at some point, you need to come to the point where you say, "This is what my truth is. I'm going to vent or mourn it or grieve it, or all those things. But then I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not going to live in this circle with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to live in the reality that this is all I can do. This is all my life is made up of, right? You say your role is to be, yep, yeah. So, and that's what some people do. They really become a victim and only a victim, right? Like you might have been the victim of a situation, but at some point you had to make a decision about not being that anymore. You got to come out of that category and say, yeah, the truth is it happened, but the truth is that's not who I am. That's not, listen, someone helped me out a long time ago and they were like, if somebody told a lie, does that make them a liar? And it to think real hard about it. And some people, really quickly want to say, yeah, that makes them a liar. But then you have to think about that. Like, so if somebody lied one time, we classify them as a liar for the rest of their life. Or if somebody, that's why I don't like the term felon. Let me tell you why. Because if somebody committed a felony or went to jail or prison, once they served their time and came out of jail, you always call them a felon? So for the rest of their life, they don't have the right to redemption. They don't have the right to change in their life. They will always be considered a felon. I don't think that's fair. What about when people steal something? And people say, well, I've never stolen, so I would never call myself a thief. But is that true? Like, you ever borrow somebody's Netflix password and you use the Netflix service before they made it for multi-road people, and you're using somebody else's service? Well, you stole service, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. So now if somebody called you a thief, would you be offended? That's where I try to go with that. And so my pastor helped me out realize, and it was a while ago, just because someone did something, that is not that is not enough to label them and say that's who they are. So that it gets to a point where you realize that you don't have to wear your mistakes. You don't have to wear what life has dealt you. You don't have to be who the sum of who you have been, right? Some stuff you did on purpose, like some decisions you made were horrible, but you don't have to be represented by those decisions for the rest of your life. Auntie Nisa, you say yes, but you have to change your circumstances. Absolutely. And that's the thing. If you want something to change, you have to decide to change it, right? And but before you even decide to change, you have to know that it's not who you have to be. I think some people, it's a scripture in the Bible that talk about take off your grave clothes. And if you understand what that means, is back in the day when somebody died, they used to have grave clothes they were in. And I think when I believe the guy resurrected, they told him after a while, take off your grave clothes because now you're no longer dead. So you don't need to have those clothes that you're dead with. And it's it was also symbolic of shedding the things that no longer serve you. I'm no longer in that season of dead things. So it's time for me to get out of that and shed that old skin, shed those things that were symbolic of where I was and put on new clothes, and that's what we have to do. So you're right, change your circumstances. Acknowledging what happened to you gives you permission to change and move forward. Absolutely. And that's why I always tell people, people say, oh, I want to think about my future. I don't want to think about the past anymore. I don't want that to be anything that is going to represent just who I am. And that's true. But also, you can't ignore your past. You can't pretend like it didn't happen. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is don't acknowledge that it happened, deal with what happened, move on from it, but heal first, right? Go through the process. Processing needs to happen. But you don't pretend like it didn't happen, because pretending like it didn't happen is denying what part of you and the growth that happens. So I know people are like, well, Paris, what are you talking about? Like, what is this conversation about? This is about this series. The series is about depression, and the series is about this particular episode is me wrapping up last Tuesday's episode with talking about men. They also get depressed too. They deal with depression. Is men have the highest level of suicide. So to pretend as though they don't go through things, that's crazy to me. And the reality is they just deal with it differently. They show depression show up in men differently. And I spoke on Tuesday, I spoke about how so many people, how unfortunately society and some of us, we've been programmed to do it too, where we try to harden our boys, we try to toughen them up, we tell them to man up, and we're telling them at 2, 3, and 4 years old to man up already. They cry, man up, boys don't cry. And we say these things that are so debilitating. We don't allow them to feel. We don't allow them to have a space to really express themselves. And if a man is vulnerable anyway, if he is not, Rocco tough, people want to call him a sissy or a girl or all these derogatory statements. And then we wonder why they shut up about their feelings. And Auntie Lisa, you're right. You said that they exhibit anger. That's so true. But I used to think that, some men think that that's the only thing that they can do, and it's not. But unfortunately, that's the only emotion that we've come to expect from them. That's the only thing that don't get them called a name. So we have to own some of that too, right? It is not deflecting what their situation is. It's not deflecting that they need to heal. It's just understanding their plight so that we can say, listen, you're right. We did not give you a space to be able to emote. We did not give you a space to be human and deal with your emotions and your feelings. We did not make it safe for you. And I'm sorry. But you have the whole emotional spectrum, and anger is not just it. What happens is you hold in all those other feelings because you told that men don't operate that way. Men don't feel. And so therefore you push it all in and you hold it and you suppress it until you get to a point where when you just suppress it so many times and then you can't take it anymore, it pops out, and usually it's explosive like anger. Nothing just happens. It is a buildup. It is you don't become overweight overnight. This is a lifetime of bad food choices, a lifetime of inactivity and sedentary lifestyle. Ask me how I know. It happens over a period of time. So I don't work out for one day. I don't eat healthy for 2 days, and all of a sudden I'll lose all the weight. That's not how it happens. It has to come off, and it has to be processed off the same way it had to come on. And it has to be a lot of intentionality that's going to work, that has to go to work to help you to deal with the situation you're in. And so it becomes a point where nobody woke up in the morning and decided I want to be angry. I mean, we think that's just what it is, but really a lot of people feel like they don't have choices. They don't understand. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what I learned. Everybody that seems so mad and angry all the time, listen, if you really sit down and talk to them, you'll realize their anger is a secondary emotion. The first emotion is, I'm hurt. I'm disappointed. No one ever has my back. I've had to raise myself since I was younger. Life is not fair. I was dealt this hand and I don't know what to do. And so those are usually the feelings that they have, but they can't really express those things because that sounds like complaining. Don't we say that? But it sounds like complaining. It sounds like, oh, you just, just whatever, nobody want to hear that. I've heard people say, why tell you what's going on with me? You wouldn't care anyway. No one cares. And that's not true, but I know how people can feel that way, because it feels like sometimes people are just really selfish, and they just don't care about anybody but themselves. I'm gonna give you a different aspects there of that, right? Sometimes it's not that people don't care. Sometimes people are really dealing with all their own crap that they don't even have the capacity to to pick up the signals and understand even how to help, because they can't even get out of their own stuff. Does that mean that you don't talk about it? You don't share? No, that doesn't mean that. Just want you to understand why you shouldn't not share, because you've been made to feel that way before. Yes, guys, it is possible for people to unintentionally hurt your feelings. Yes, it is possible for people to unintentionally not be caring. Yes, it is possible for people to not show up for you in life. It's not always personal. I tell people, that's the first thing I tell them. Do not take everything personal. Somebody not showing up for your birthday party, somebody not, opening the door when you go into the mall. All of it's not people trying to dish you or make you feel bad. A lot of it is their life is so complicated, and they got a lot of things on their mind, and they can't even really process things, and they miss stuff, right? So sometimes this whole conspiracy theory that the world hates you and that nobody wants to embrace you, it's not really your reality, but it feels that way, right? And your truth is your truth, but sometimes seeing a different perspective, different way, which is why I talk about therapy and why it's so amazing, because having that unbiased person that don't know you, that's trained, that comes to listen to you and help you pick apart things that's happening in life and give you a different perspective and give you the tools to better manage your life, man, it's all the difference. It's all the difference in the world. Let's see. Tanisha, you said labels for people of color are hard to shed, especially if they're placed on you by people who were supposed to be your protector. And yes, of course, being put down. Yes. And that's the thing too, is that especially in the Black community, oh my God, it is so hard, because you already have all these things to deal with. And you do have already people looking for you to mess up. They're looking for you to not show up well. And so people think you're angry. They literally I've seen people look at somebody that's smiling, like that's not smiling. Let's say I'm walking down the street. I'm not smiling, but I'm not frowning. So I'm not smiling. And somebody could really go and say, "What's wrong with you? Why are you angry? Look at that angry person over there." And you're like, "Wait, what? Who said I was angry? I wasn't smiling in that moment." So I have to, if I don't walk around dancing like a clown, I'm not considered like happy and friendly. What people don't realize is called implicit bias. It means that people can look at you and say, I assume that that's who you are. And these are stereotypes. And so therefore, people have these stereotypes put on them before they even go into places. So yeah, that even adds to the intensity of all that. That's all psychological. That's all meant to do that, right? Let's be clear. None of this stuff is by accident. All psychological warfare. But if you don't even understand what it is, you're just living life, and it's just another thing to put you down, right? Yeah, and DC, we're talking about people feeling like, you said society has already told them their roles. Absolutely. If somebody says you're the protector and the provider, that's it. And that you don't get to have, you don't get to talk about the things that bother you, and that's all you are. You believe that that's the only thing that you are good at, or you believe that that is your role. So that means if you don't have the job you want, if you don't have the money you want, if you don't have the things in life you want, like a house and a car and being able to provide, you feel like a failure. And so it becomes a point where you really start to quantify those things as the only things that matter, right? And so it becomes a thing where your roles are what defines you, and that's not true. It's not true. If you don't have any money, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means life has happened. Life has happened. I love this, Tanisha. You said, what man is willing to admit hurt and disappointment? You know what? And I don't even think that it's that men are not willing, that they're willing to admit that they're hurt and disappointed. I think that there was not a space left there for them. And again, I'm not making excuses for me, and wouldn't dare do it. But I like to look at a different side of it. I watch sometimes when there are men who do admit they're hurt and they're disappointed, and sometimes they're ridiculed and they're made fun of, or people make jokes with it, or people say, "Man, get out of here with that." Not just men, women too. Women, we got to do better. I talked about that. Women have to do better of making a space where a man can feel like he can share. You can't say you want a sensitive man and somebody that shares his emotions and feelings, and when he starts sharing his emotions and feelings, you regulate it. You tell him, "Oh, that's too much. I didn't need to hear all that." Well, which one is it? You can't control everything. You can't say you want somebody to deal with, be more sensitive and have more emotions, and then tell them how they should share them. Yeah, we got to do better at that. We cannot tell them to open up to us and then shoot them down when they do open up. Not saying that anybody's doing that we know. I'm saying there are people that do it, right? I refuse to believe that men and women are so different that they don't have the ability to have emotions. We all have emotional intelligence. It is not a woman thing or a man thing. It is a human thing. We all have them. I just believe that people talk about nature versus nurture, and people always say, "Oh, well, our nature, woman's nature is to be more nurturing, and men's nature to be more just logical." And I reject that. It's not, yes, that's true, but it's not all encompassing, right? There are people who are women that are very much more logical and more calculated and less emotional, or vice versa. There are men that are more nurturing. And I know you say, "Well, that's just an exception." It is not. It is. I believe that we're way more alike than we are different. I believe that that if you take the time to understand how people process things, you can understand that a balanced person is somebody that understands to have a good balance between the logic and the emotional part inside of you, right? And so I just believe that if we go ahead and we open up this door, what someone say, when your kids get older, you can't force them to do the things that you want them to do anymore, right? But what I heard someone say that was a beautiful thing is that, but what you can do is, before they become adults, make an environment where, number one, they want to come talk to you. You have to intentionally make it where they want to talk to you, without with the guidelines of the guise of saying that I'm not tricking you or manipulating you into doing it. And then also make it where they enjoy time with you, and everything is not just, "Oh, I told you to do this, that, and this." Like making time to actually enjoy each other, so that there's no manipulation around it. There's no forcing. That now when they have a choice to do life a certain way, that they are choosing it not because it's an obligation. They're choosing it because they want to have that interaction. It's not always the easiest thing to do. I'm not ever saying it's easy. I don't know if I even mastered it. But I remember when I heard this, I was like, okay, well, you're right. When people don't have to do things, you can't make them do it. But I'm hoping that I can foster a situation where the people that deal with me because they want to deal with me, not because they feel like they have to, right? Vice versa. If you can't manipulate, you can't say, "Hey, you need to share more. You need to be more open," and not make an environment that feels safe so that the men in your life feel open to share that with you. This is why these conversations are important, because we have the conversations here. You start to have the conversations with people that you care about, and you'd be surprised when you start to share parts of you that people share things of themselves. I never understood why certain men would share things with me when I was younger and all the way up to now. But I started to realize is that I fostered an environment where they knew that what they shared with me would not get out. They knew I wouldn't throw it back in their face. They knew that I wouldn't think less of them because they shared that. And they also knew I was transparent. So they knew things about me, and they understood that, this was a safe place. And so if we do those things, if we foster those type of safe situations, you'll see that people will feel safe to go ahead and reveal a piece of them. And you'll start to be able to realize that some of that anger we see, some of that toxic masculinity that we see portrayed, again, some of the violent stuff that we see in the news in our neighborhoods and in the streets is not just people that are wolves and dogs and animals. I hate when people say that that's people that are just animals. They just have no soul. No, they have souls, but guess what? They were failed too. They hurting. And I'm not making an excuse for anybody. I'm saying that we so fast to throw people away. My God, if it ain't our child, if it ain't our whatever, and I get it. When people hurt somebody that you care about, it makes you angry. I understand. But man, I get to a point where I'm tired of throwing everybody away. Shoot, if we keep throwing people away, we won't have anybody. I'd rather say, try to have compassion and empathy. Of course, I don't want anybody to kill anybody. However, did we ever think about, like, y'all ever saw that show, How to Make a Killer? Again, this is not taking away that they did anything wrong. I'm saying, what happens if we deal with the problems that take people to this point? What happens if we are more compassionate and empathetic a society, that we give people places to talk? A lot of times when you see stuff like How to Make a Killer and different stories, if you ever watched Joker, it's a very good psychological thriller that talks about the profile of the person that became Joker. And a lot of the things that happened is that he was ridiculed. He had a lot of abuse and isolation at home. And then he went to school in different public places and people made fun of him because he was different. And all these things that piled on top of each other. And they showed how he ended up being this person. And again, not making an excuse for him, but for me, I couldn't help but feel such sadness because he always felt by himself, right? He always felt alone. And understanding it enough to say that, I want different for him, because guess what? That's one person, but guess what? He's not alone. There are other people that feel that way too. And until we start dealing with the human part of people and not just making everybody who does this an isolated situation, then we will continue to have the violence that we see amongst our men. Most shooters, most murderers, most, abusers, most sexual predators, they were first victims. Y'all don't want to hear that? That's okay. And I understand you don't want to hear it. But most of them were victims first, right? Most of them were people that had horrible things happen to them and nobody cared. So after a while, when people things that's horrible that happens to them, they become numb or they become vengeful and they want to do to people or worse to people what they've done to them. And after a while, if people start to not care and their heart get cold, that's how they can do these horrible things. So nobody wakes up one day and just says, I want to shoot everybody up. Don't get me wrong, there are psychopaths. However, most people that deal with these situations, most people, especially in the Black community, in y'all neighborhood, little Ray Ray and Pookie and them, they didn't wake up with this. It's not just a gene. If you ever knew anything that happened to them, their life story, and I know some people say, well, this happened to so-and-so, or they didn't do that. I understand that. That does not make it okay. Just because your dad sexually abused you and your mom beat you every single day and y'all was eating food out the trash and you survived and you didn't do anything bad, just because that happened doesn't mean it's normal. Doesn't mean it's excused. Doesn't mean it's okay. And just because you survived it don't mean the next person will or should have to. You get what I'm saying here? Okay. So I'm just trying to give you another aspect inside of it. We're so fast to point fingers, and we are not. We don't take time to know people's story. We don't take time to care. We just like to accuse and we don't care about what put this person in the situation. And my goal is, let's care. Let's humanize people again. That guy that did something bad down the street to your family, yeah, I know you hurt because they hurt your family. But he used to play with your son and you used to love him when he was younger. He did something horrible. He should pay for that. But does anybody care about the person? And if he goes to jail and he comes back and he serves his time, can he not be redeemed? Is he forever just a horrible person? Is he what he does forever? Will he never be somebody that can redeem himself? I know my answer to that question. Don't know what your answer is, but I'm just giving you a different way to look at it. Listen, we are human. We have all done things that are less than becoming to different degrees. All I'm saying is I want to give men the space to be comfortable with expressing their feelings so that they don't only show up in anger, right? Only show up in very toxic ways. And so I was saying, I'm going to end it with this. I want to talk about ways that you can cope. In the past, some very negative ways to cope with certain depression and mental health issues have been with alcohol and drugs and numbings, like sex, like lots and lots of sex with different women or men, and also gluttony, like overeating. All those things have been used to numb the pain and deal with things and cope with these depression and these illnesses and these feelings. I want to offer a different way, and there are a lot of different ways, but one of the best ways I think to deal with depression as a man is first to admit that there is a problem, that you have had these feelings, that you've had these feelings of abandonment and hurt and grief and darkness, and that they really do affect you, and you can't just pretend like they don't exist, right? So first of all, it's acknowledging that is real to somebody that's safe for you, and identifying who that safe person is. And maybe if you don't have somebody safe in your family or in your close proximity, then again, that's why I definitely, oh my God, I 1,000% recommend a therapist. I'm telling you. And listen, you can be very specific. Like if you are a Black man and you don't think anybody understands your story but another Black man, that's fine. Do you know there are Black male therapists? You don't know any, let me know and I can refer to you to one. That, if you are somebody that's a Christian and say, well, I don't want to go to anybody that doesn't have my beliefs. Do you know there are Christian therapists? People that, will think that will keep in mind your belief system. Yeah, listen, you cannot get to a point where you tell yourself that nobody understands you. It's just not true. It's just not true, because we are more alike than we're not, right? If you say, oh, well, I don't want to deal with anybody who doesn't understand what it's like to be sexually abused. Do you know there are people that specialize in that type of trauma? I don't want to deal with anybody who doesn't understand what it's like to be divorced. Do you understand? There's people who specialize in those type of things, right? So that's my first suggestion, is to acknowledge what happens, then go ahead and seek help, right? Because you can feel better. You can, with treatment, you can start waking up and like reclaiming the joy that you lost. There was a point in your life, if you want to be honest, that you used to wake up every day and just be happy and just be excited to be here and have another day and be in this world. And then something happened and now you feel like you lost it a long time ago. And you thought that it's not something that you can ever get back. And I hate the idea of that, right? I just want you to understand that it's not always doom and gloom. Like you can have that joy for life. You know, you see people that are smiling and you like, you know, if you start to get cynical and say, what are they smiling about? What's going on with them? Then you need to figure out what stole your zeal. And you can't do it always by yourself. So this is why, you know, these things need to be talked about. The next thing I think you should do is meditation. A lot of times people don't want to talk about meditation. If you are a person of faith, prayer, but just getting quiet and quieting those thoughts down in your head so you can have some time to be reflective. I also really recommend journaling, writing it down, getting some of that stuff out of your head, because sometimes you stay in your head so much you don't get anything done. You have these things that ruminate in your head over and over again, and sometimes you just need to get it out. I call it a funnel. Sometimes stuff gets stuck in this funnel and I don't get it to come out and filter out. So sometimes you gotta get stuff down on paper so that you can bring it out your mind, so you can kind of get some relief. And it's very therapeutic. They're very therapeutic way to go ahead and start the healing process or coping with these things. I also believe sometimes some good relaxing music, even to just kind of get your head out of this. And I mean, I know people say you can do what you want to do, but I'm not talking about like that, like party music all the time. I mean, sometimes you just need something calm. That's why, have you ever been to a spa experience? I know a lot of men have not probably been to spas. I very much recommend spa for men. Especially if you've never been to one, go get you a massage. Go get you a manicure, pedicure. Go get pampered. Like, that's another thing. We tell men that type of stuff is, gay, or we tell men that type of stuff is feminine. Or I heard guys, they talk about it like in a funny way. Man, the only way I go get that is if my girl get it for me. Or I go with my girl. I don't want no guy to think that. Man, listen, I'm watching men grooming places pop up all over. Why? Because they're realizing that this is not just a woman thing. Self-care is not just woman. It's not a gender. Self-care is for men too. Self-care, and listen, go back to my self-care series when we talk about things that you can do for yourself, but it's not, I mean, that's considered self-care. Self-care is more than just a spa day. That's what we talked about. But guess what? If you're a man and you never did a spa day, if you never had a massage, you never did anything nice for yourself, I love the spa because sometimes they have that really relaxing music. And then they have the scents, the aromatherapy, and it's just the whole environment is made to cater to you and make you feel good. So, that's something that's good for you as well. So, taking some time out for yourself and doing some self-care is very, very necessary. And then exercising is always good, getting that blood pumping. We always talk about the happy things that's made from what's the happy chemical in your brain? The serotonin, and being able to get more of that. And a lot of times the endorphins and things. So guess what? When you start moving and you exercise, you get those things pumping and the blood pumping, and it gets to your brain and you start to feel the joy. You don't understand. Our body needs exercise. It does. It's like a squeaky wheel. It needs oil. It needs that to be functional, right? We can get by with it, but the longer that you keep it still, the longer it's going to rust up and be not, needs to be replaced, right? So that's the same thing. You don't use it, you're going to lose it. So being able to get your body that oxygen that it needs, that movement that it needs. Listen, I have to take my own advice sometimes. I'm sitting behind the computer for hours and hours a day, and I have to remember that I have to get out. No matter how, I need to get up, get out, get some sunlight, get some air. Sunlight is good for you. That also helps. That vitamin D gets into your skin and it turns into very good things for your body, and it helps with your mind. All of these things work and help, eating a good diet, starting to eat things that are better for you. Sometimes, we want the steak, we want the potatoes, we want whatever we want. We work hard, we should get what we want. I understand that, but you also have to think about longevity and think about what's going to help you. It's not even just about weight. I'm tired of people saying, oh, well, if that's a big person, they need to eat right. No, sir, if you weigh 120 pounds, but you eat cheesesteaks every day and fries with mouse sauce and pop and drink liquor, you are horribly unhealthy. And it's just a matter of time before something happens. And I don't care what anybody says about that. It's not about your size. Don't get healthy only when you can see it. That's the problem with everybody. We only diagnose what we can see. Oh, that person is overweight. They must be super unhealthy. Yes, that's true. They probably could get that under control, but you're not healthy just because you're skinny. Stop it. Stop it. So it's about understanding that you get on top of your health. What you put into your system will affect your mind, will affect your mood, will affect everything about you. It affects everything. And so getting that under control will help you out. What you eat, your diet really does help with your mind. I mean, it's called, you ever heard brain food? It's a real thing. What you eat impacts how you think. So yeah, think about all that crap that you eat all the time, saying I'm gonna eat whatever I want to. It's literally making you stupid. And you can take that how you want to. I don't really care. But I mean, I care, but it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? And don't believe me. Go research it, y'all. I told y'all. Go research it. Don't believe everything I tell you. Go research it. So I hope you guys are hearing me. Those are just some things that you can do. I also want to put up the suicide hotline. Hold on. I want to put the suicide hotline up because men, again, have the highest levels of suicide. And I think that we don't talk about it enough. And I need you to understand you have somewhere. If you can't call somebody that you trust, if you don't have somebody that you can talk to, at least call them. Call them and talk to them. I don't want another story where someone says, oh, well, I can't believe that happened to so-and-so. You need to inbox me and say, hey, Paris, I'm going through something. Listen, I'll talk to you. At the end of the day, I want everybody to be good, right? And so that's the goal, right? Is to show kindness and empathy so that people can heal. So we can all be better all the way around, right? It's no good if I'm just good and nobody else is, right? It's no good. No good. We got to help the collective, right? We got to help all of us, right? So I hope this helps somebody. Thanks for rocking with me. Thank you, Antonisi. Hey, Yolanda, girl. Thanks for everybody that came in and was talking and shared in the conversation. It was a good conversation about men and depression and how they cope and suicide and all those things, right? I hope you guys got something from this today. Please share this on your network. Please share it with your audience or people who that's on your timeline. You don't know who could use it. Guaranteed we all have men in our life. Guaranteed we all know people that suffer from depression. Guaranteed that the only emotion men have is not anger, right? And so to understand that to take this conversation more widespread is going to be necessary. You don't know, you can help somebody, and if it just helps one person, hey, I've done my job. I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing day. Don't forget, you are enough. You are enough. You're enough. You're enough. Men and women. I know y'all women say it's just for y'all, or men, y'all think it's just for women, but men, you are enough. Even if you don't have the dream job you want right now, you're still enough. Just because you didn't go finish school, you're still enough. Just because you don't have your child every weekend, you're still enough. And you are enough for what? You asked me to give yourself a fighting chance, to invest in your self-development, to invest in your emotional intelligence. You're enough. All right. I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Y'all, next week is Thanksgiving. Woo! Whether you celebrate it or not, it's a holiday. And so hopefully we have some good talks. Next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So now that I think about it, I might not go live. So that means I might just go live on Tuesday. So, I didn't even think about Thursday was Thanksgiving. I mean, I knew it was, but I didn't think about that. Well, here we go, guys. I'm going to make a decision. I'm not going to go live on Thanksgiving. I'm going to be with my family, and that's important to me, as you should be with yours, and hopefully you will be. So I'll just go live next Tuesday on the 23rd. And I think the last time that we have this month, then, if I'm not going to go live on Thanksgiving, is the 30th. So I guess we only have 2 more days for us to talk in November. That went fast, y'all. 2 more days in this depression series. So we're going to bring it home with some some good stuff, right, guys? I have some exciting stuff coming up for you guys next week for Black Friday. Y'all want to stay tuned. So it's going to be exciting. All right, guys, I love you. Have an amazing rest of your evening. We will talk soon.